Thank you very much for joining, everyone. So we're going to go through, well, I've titled this Mastering Grasshopper, Confusion to Confidence. We're just going to go through a few slides. We've kind of been over some of this before, but it's really good to reiterate and come back over these things again. And we're going to also use this as a bit of a release of the 1-year membership tier that we're going to be launching. So we'll have lots of questions at the end. So we can save our questions there. But like I said, if you have any questions at all, just in the meantime, just put them in the group chat. We can address them all at the end. So we're going to go through this. I've done this before, but I think it's really interesting, and it gives a bit of a background into me and TEKNE LEARN for those of you who haven't joined one of these before. But we'll do a really quick Grasshopper timeline. So a bit insights into the evolution of Grasshopper over the 10 to 15 years, my kind of experience of this. We'll go over some of the biggest hurdles that people have when they're, trying to learn Grasshopper, and both from an individual level and also what we see like in industries as well, in different design industries. We will go over a solution or potential solutions for this, what the problems are for Grasshopper and people learning and what the solutions are. Like I said, we'll talk about our 1-year membership tier that we're releasing this week, and we have some special bonuses and everything that you can get a hold of, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So we'll start with this Grasshopper timeline, and this timeline is split it into 3 levels. This first level, I'll just quickly go over. This is my personal timeline. From Grasshopper first came around in about 2007, but I started using about 2011. And, this was at the time of my master's. I'm an architect, and we were totally obsessed with form and design to fabrication, designing very complex objects and building and making things. I was working for fabrication companies for a long time and doing all sorts of installations, pieces of art, events. So I kind of, carried on this trajectory of making things, and Grasshopper has always been this very central part of my workflow. I was working for Foster & Partners for a long time. Again, so seeing a different kind of scale and a different end of architecture of how we use computational design. And how this feeds into all of these, very complex projects. I was mainly doing flagship Apple stores while I was at Foster's, and then started my own company, which is TEKNE LAB, which is a parametric and computational design consultancy. We work with lots of different architects, lots of facades at the moment, to create and help people, small to medium firms with these, complex projects, architects. And all this time I've taught Grasshopper. I've had content written for Grasshopper for the best part of a decade. And always doing little groups with people. I ran a Masters of Architecture at Leeds University as well. So we were always teaching our students. And just slowly developed this, over the years, and I've really got in tune with, how people really learn and what people's problems are. So, I've delivered, to groups, to individuals over, 1-day workshop, weeks workshops, over months. We've done every kind of version that you could think of. And all of this has kind of coalesced into TEKNE LEARN, which is the kind of sister company of TEKNE LAB. And we do Grasshopper coaching, and computational design coaching, and we really professional level coaching and teaching of Grasshopper and computational thinking. So we'll talk a little bit more. So going back to 2007, and this is the resources timeline. So what has been available for people like learning Grasshopper over the years? And you've had these, there's been a few key resources like ModeLab's Primer and the algorithmic aided design. These are just 2 examples of things that seem to be timeless. These have never gone away. But we need to understand Grasshopper as well, because it's this very grassroots piece of software that tons of people get involved with in the development of all these different plugins. We've had community forums, the classic Grasshopper community forum that closed in 2017, I think, so quite a few years, which was replaced by Rhino's, or the new forum, which isn't as good, I think most people would say. So all of these resources, all of these, grassroots people creating all these different things, all these forums, people connecting over different industries is a big part of, I think, how people learn Grasshopper. And then we have tutorials, thousands and thousands and thousands of tutorials on YouTube that are, you know, all on there and unorganized. Some of them are outdated, some of them are good. And then we have, you know, like basic, you know, more so now we have a lot of like, you know, intro courses on all these different, you know, LinkedIn Learning, all these different sites and things. And, you know, and these basic courses are great, you know, they'll get you somewhere, but there still seems to be this, you know, people still struggle. And there's always something that people struggle with at some point with Grasshopper. And yeah, and really not much has changed in the entire time of that I've been working with Grasshopper. You really just have to learn yourself and navigate this minefield of stuff and forums to be able to you know, to be able to learn and apply this to your projects. So again, we'll talk about this in detail, but yeah, this is how I've seen like the stuff available, and really what's missing and what's never been around really is like a professional level and professional approach to learning Grasshopper and computational thinking in design. Quick one in, because I want to talk a little bit more about other industries, but you know, my background is architecture, so you know, Grasshopper in general and complex architecture has been practiced for a long time, but it's always at this high level of architects, all these star architects and amazing projects, you know, all around the world. Your Zahas and your Fosters and your Herzogs and your Frank Gehry's. You know, there's this high level architecture which are using these tools and have been for a long time. And also at the same time, well, you know, around 2007, you had this introduction of this piece of software, Grasshopper. And again, this grassroots, all these forums, and it was really institutions and research and development that drove a lot of, you know, drove this kind of lower level of development. So you have all of these really interesting, you know, plugins, all these different people and research institutions doing all these different amazing lower level I suppose research projects and installation things, and these have gone on for years. And there's always been this like these two levels, I think, to Grasshopper. And over time, what we've seen is that all those people that I was studying with and all the, you know, back in the day, we were all students and we're all obsessed with this stuff. And we've seen this at both scales. And what has happened now is that all those people are now directors in these big companies, or, you know, they're 10 years through their career. And they're now starting to direct things a little bit more and set the agenda about how, you know, what processes are used in the office and what you know, software that we actually use. So what we're seeing is this filtering down into the middle, and I'm seeing this more and more, especially with, you know, for all you architects familiar with Rhino Inside. These are just being able to automate and optimize, you know, our general life of architecture. It's not just about super complex pieces of form, it's about being able to you know, help, you know, more people in the industry and, you know, small to medium firms and just general architecture. So yeah, what we're missing is, you know, professional industry standards. We're missing, you know, it's still taught in a very haphazard way. There's no real professional standards, like I said, and there is still, and this is for everybody, there is still no Grasshopper qualification. There is no like level 1 Grasshopper qualification, technically. You know, McNeil have never endorsed anything. You'll see people say level 1 Grasshopper, but there isn't like a certification across the board, which I think is really interesting and quite telling. And I think will change over the next few years because of how it's being used in different industries. And this leads me to some of you may have seen all this previous stuff before, but this is, you know, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Grasshopper in connection to other industries, because when you start looking into it and thinking about it, and this has come from a lot of what, you know, what I've been doing with my membership recently. We have a lot of different design industries working with Grasshopper. We have jewelry design, and you know, maybe not any naval designers yet, but all of these different industries, you know, are using Grasshopper. Aerospace engineering, product designers, sculpt artists, interior designers. I'm going to click through these and not say them all, but you get the idea. And you know, I 100% will have missed some off this. But the mind-blowing thing is that all of these different industries are, you know, using Grasshopper in some sort of way. And it starts to make you think, like, well, how can one piece of software be applicable for all these different design industries? What is it about Grasshopper that kind of can connect all these different these different systems and these different industries, and really it's a systematic approach to design, which is what we're talking about. The way Grasshopper allows us to create and study as designers, through designing systems, not objects. And really, if boiling all of this down, in my mind, it really comes down to the study of form, where it doesn't matter what industry we're in, we're all interested in one way or another the study of form. And this is what Grasshopper allows us to do. The architect placing his facade panels, the structural engineer with his grids, the jeweler faceting a complex ring, the naval designer, optimizing a ship hull. You talk to anybody about these kind of different processes in different industries, they all sound super interesting. And there's a ton of shared knowledge that we can have between, different designers in different industries. And so, there'll always be some key takeaways that you can bring from other people's designs, and it's the study of form that transgresses all these different disciplines. And so, just as a couple of examples for this, lattice structures have just come up a lot recently in our weekly membership calls. And, this is lattice structures from, different industrial designers, people working on two souls. That's Diego, you're in here as well. We've got people working on prosthetics. And, the idea of a lattice structure just spans so many different scales and so many different, there's tons of examples of these being used in all these different industries, all different scales, all the way up to, structures that we would put in space. It's the same structure. It's just at different scales, but the system or the underlying logic of those scripts is exactly the same. And there's a huge amount of shared knowledge that we have between different industries. And that's probably why we see all these lattice structures everywhere, because it's a great, well, they're also very beautiful, but they're also very structural as well. So they feed into a lot, I think, about what different design industries need. Another example that I really liked as well was origami. Like, you have, again, origami in architecture, origami in aerospace engineering, about how the solar panels unfold. I was working with a client last year. We were working on different Grasshopper scripts to do this. But again, it's the exact same script. If we're doing a space station as it is a lamp, it's the same study of form. It's the same process, the same systems, and that shared knowledge is really interesting for me. And connecting all these different ideas and people. This is another really random one as well, but I once wrote, this is a while back, I wrote a script in Grasshopper that would pull in market data. And this eventually became like a trading bot, and we were looking at data or different timestamps basically being mapped to the same screen, so we could connect and basically visualize time in our trading data over a longer period. And doing this as three-dimensional surfaces as well became more of an intuitive way to look at the data. And this is a really random one, I know, but it's the same process. It's just data being brought in through and systematized in and being pushed to create form. That is, as in essence, what computational design is about. So, we can apply these ideas to lots of different things. So really, the understanding of form should, not only be scaleless. Numbers, we change our unit system. We can change, from medical devices to space stations, but it's also cross-disciplinary as well. The same knowledge is applicable at 1 millimeter as it is 1 kilometer, all about understanding key aspects of geometry. And I also think having a more unified approach to using Grasshopper that is applicable to all design industries. Knowledge sharing is super powerful between all different industries and disciplines, but we can only do this when we're all talking the same language. And that is the language of systems, fundamentals, and geometry, and how all this interacts with pieces of software like Grasshopper. So in particular, the biggest hurdles for Grasshopper, we have individual problems, and then we have industry problems. And I see these as actually a really similar problem, which is design isolation. And if anybody, we've all been using Grasshopper probably in some way or another, and everyone can relate to this, I would imagine, being the only person in the studio who is interested, or your university, or your group of friends or people who is interested in Grasshopper. And it's a very, I've been there, I was there for a long time. It's very isolating. No one understands what you're doing. No one understands, what all the spaghetti wires are. And, working in that isolation is only going to get you so far, sharing ideas and sharing knowledge between, getting involved in different forums and it really helps. And it's a compounding effect, because explaining your problems, in language, in written language, typed language, or vocal language, it makes you confront the logic of what you're trying to say in a very tangible way. And it also forces the listener to work out and decipher exactly what it is that you're trying to say. So it's a dual effect for both people. And this compounds when when we have a foundational kind of level of language, and how we interact with each other becomes a little bit more standardized. However, the trouble is most people, don't know the language well enough to, to have these conversations. And then we end up, even trying to articulate problems sometimes is really, really difficult. So so on an individual level, generally our problems with Grasshopper, and this is how people generally approach Grasshopper as well. When we first start out, this is the normal way. We have a project that we need to work on, and it's we need to apply Grasshopper or computational thinking, or whatever words that you want to use to some sort of project. This is how generally people start. They see Grasshopper, they're like, oh, well, okay, I'll use Grasshopper. But they have a project deadline, they have no time to learn, and they have very high expectations, because they see, you see a lot of the work around, you see people, people's Instagrams and things, and it just looks seamless. It looks like it's almost like a verb. It looks like you grasshopper things, and it's super easy. But people don't realize how difficult it is. So, then they go out, okay, well, I want to learn a little bit more about this. But like I said, it's a very hard world to navigate, because there's no professional standards. It's a very messy space to learn. So it's very hard to navigate, very messy. And a lot of the time when you're following tutorials, you're following other people's logic. So you're not developing your own logic, which is the most important thing. And then the third really difficult thing is just the nature of Grasshopper. It is a messy program environment. There's very nonlinear problem solving. We'll talk about this a little bit more as well. And you're designing systems, not objects. And most people are approaching approaching Grasshopper as 3D modelers. So all of these things compound in my mind. We have deadlines and two specific things that we need to do. We don't have the support we need, and just on a fundamental level, we don't understand Grasshopper. And this is a negative feedback between all these things, because it just kind of gets worse and worse, and everybody ends up in this little middle section here, which I call the trifecta of pain. And it's a negative feedback loop. It's massively time consuming to get stuck here. Very frustrating, very unsatisfying, and it's where most people are. They get stuck in this little world, in this little zone where it's very difficult to break out of. On an broader scale of problem is that, architects are working on architectural solutions, industrial designers are working on industrial design solutions, jewelers on jewelry solutions. And, we get isolation in industries as well. And people don't, I think, interesting designers are, always can span different industries. And I think it's quite interesting when you can make these connections and pick up from different design disciplines and, and find inspiration that way. So not getting too isolated within your own industry, I think, is really important. So, and again, this builds this common language that we can all start talking. And so what is the solution to this, or the solution map to this, to our negative feedback loop, where we have all of these things that are kind of causing a problem for each other? All of these things that we see here, having projects to work on, what resources are available, and just the nature of Grasshopper. These are all super important. And actually, the foundations of learning Grasshopper. It's just they're in the wrong order, and we need to approach it from the opposite way. And instead of creating a negative feedback loop, we create a positive feedback loop. So we'll start with the nature of Grasshopper. If this is where everyone started, rather than starting with a project that they're never going to get their heads around, we start with the nature of Grasshopper, understand some principles of geometry, principles of computational thinking, principles of Grasshopper's data structures, and best practices and professionalism. If we start here, everything else is going to be so much easier. We're going to have some context. So when we seek out appropriate resources that are going to apply to what we want to do, and you have context because you actually have this this base layer. And then when we start to then we can apply this to our projects, because we have this base layer of understanding. We have some resources that we actually understand, that have been engaged with, and we can start applying this to our own projects. And once we go around this a few times, because our own projects then feed into the nature of Grasshopper, we understand Grasshopper more and more and more. We can start looking at more complex resources and going for more complex plugins, and that feeds into more projects that we can do. So we create this positive system, this positive feedback loop in our work, and and we develop our own thinking, our own way of problem solving Grasshopper. So I'm going to put the link to this in the, or we're going to put the link to this in the chat right now. This was because I want to go through a part of this, but and I'm going to go through it quite quickly. But there is a full session on what I'm just about to go through now, because I want to leave you with some kind of actionable steps. But if you want the kind of bigger, longer discussion about this one, you could head to this link and watch. It's a free masterclass that we gave. But we have, I developed this kind of methodology to approach and to start thinking about this positive feedback loop with this methodology. And the idea of this is starting any project at the end. If we want to start a project and we need to gather reference images, we are going to go through some sketch exercise where we're pulling out features, we're pulling out parameters and components that we might use. And we're going to create sketch storyboards. And this is going to be our guiding map and structure. So this methodology you can apply to, any kind of actually tutorial, and I'll show you how to do it, but any tutorial that you're going to take or thinking of taking. And so I've deliberately left off what project this is about, because, the idea of this, again, because this, these sketches could apply to, any piece of design. Doesn't matter. In this case, it's a piece of architecture, but this could be, I don't know, a piece of jewelry or a shoe, I don't know, whatever. And so the idea is just to sketch, where we take what we're our piece of design that we're trying to emulate, or try, an idea that we have, and we're sketching out ideas. We're sketching out pure pieces of geometry. We're sketching out parameters. We're writing down maybe some components that we could use. And what we do is we organize these from the most simple objects to the most complex objects. So, on the left-hand side, we have points and curves, and these are getting more complex into creating surfaces and then our high-level geometry. We want to create a direction in our thinking. And so we start mapping out a script, and this is fully manual. I don't suggest doing this in Grasshopper. This is on just tracing paper or whatever. You're sketching out and diagramming the idea and creating these different steps that we're going to create, and different sections that we're going to create in Grasshopper, but mapped out as as an approach. And so when we do this, when we start from the end, this was the piece of the design that we're actually doing. When we start from the end, it helps us understand structure. It helps us understand how our thinking and how we're going to map out a problem in Grasshopper. When we start from a tutorial, they're always from the other way. They're from left to right. So, I'm saying start from right to left. Start with the idea and map this back and create this map of, by organizing it in terms of complexity. But whenever we watch tutorials, it's always the opposite way around. It's left to right. And all this is showing you is the techniques. It's showing you, okay, now we're going to create a line. Now we're going to create its surface. And what you don't get is the bigger picture. You're going through it line by line. You're going from left to right. And you think you understand it, but what you don't have is that bigger map. So what I really like to tell show people what to do is, whenever you come to a design problem, there's many different ways of solving this design goal. And what we need to do is start from the end. We need to start from the right hand side and work backwards, and to create our methodology. And if you do this before you watch any tutorial, the next tutorial that you want to watch in Grasshopper, do this first. Skip to the end of the video, look at what they're designing, and map out your approach. Doesn't matter if it's wrong. You're just mapping out, and you're having a go at what you think the logic could be. And then watch the tutorial from left to right, and watch it step by step. And what this is going to do, it's going to give you connections. You're going to connect different ideas, and they might be in a different order. And they might do it completely different to how you thought, but you at least have some context and the bigger picture of how you might go about creating something like that in that, and it's going to fill in the gaps with all those techniques that they're using. So and on a bigger level, our brains are really good at making connections like this. And I truly believe anybody can be great at Grasshopper, because it's about taking that abstract thinking and turn this in and pattern recognition, essentially. But we need strategies to be able to develop that pattern recognition for ourselves. It's not about following someone else's patterns, it's following our own. So that positive cycle, I think, is compounds and gets much better when we wrap this in community. If you have access to a community of people, of all these different different designers and engineers, this is where things become really exciting for me, because there's a lot of different people feeding into these logics, and we can learn so much from each other. So this is my picture of how I think Grasshopper should learn, and how we all feed in, on my diagram at least. And these are just some images from our from the membership sessions that we run every single week. So we're doing calls every single week now with different designers from all over the world, bringing different projects to the table. Very interesting. We all talk it through. And so we'll just talk quickly about our 1-year membership tier, because this, all the community aspect that I, was just talking about is exactly what we're trying to, or exactly what we're building in the computational mindset community and our membership. So this is all of my experience from 12 plus years of Grasshopper, 10 plus years of teaching it, all into this coaching package, or into this membership package. It's directly developed from what people's actual problems with Grasshopper are. Grasshopper is just our tool, but it's really about learning how to think differently. Those strategies I just showed you about sketching out, this is how you start creating a computational mindset, and how you start getting much better at Grasshopper, because you have context, because you're actually thinking through the problem and not just running through someone else's solution to the problem. And leveraging a diverse community for inspiration, support, and direction, and really just understanding Grasshopper is a skill. It takes time to develop. This is lesson 1 of Grasshopper. So if you want to join, you're going to be with us for a while, and we will, we'll all support you together. I have some testimonials here as well, and I don't know if Craig is actually on the line, but I started working with Craig over a year ago now. He's an architect, and he went through my coaching program with me, and he's now in our group calls every single week, which is great. And this is just some of the promotional things I've put together that he's said over the years. But he was going to. Oh, you are there, huh? Hi, Craig.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. How's everything going? It's been a little over a year and a half now, actually. I think it was February of last year that I contacted you and reached out to try and learn from you as far as Grasshopper. And I came into Grasshopper wanting to learn predominantly. I was interested in the Rhino inside Revit. like doing production work in an architectural firm and trying to like streamline design to production and seeing that, oh, there's this tool that can now connect this design software that most people use to the production side of things. Now I've got to get in and figure out how to do this and connect it. And realizing real quick, you've got to learn the fundamentals of Grasshopper in order to be able to utilize some of those tools. And so started my deep dive into learning this. And I spent probably 6 or 8 months prior to talking to Jack, going through tutorials, paying for other courses and things where it's like, okay, you go start to finish, a little bit of explainer here and there, and then we're going to do a project from start to finish. And I would always come away feeling like I kind of knew something until I tried to do it by myself. And then I would constantly have to go and open the video back up and try to seek through the video, find that moment in time where they talked about this thing. And then I'd have to replicate that again because I didn't truly know it. And the thing is, once you have somebody you can talk to about it, because that's the big thing. It's the community. It's being able to like reach out, ask a question, have a sounding board. Am I going down the right path? Maybe it's a weird path, but it's still a logical path. And it helps redefine like how you want to move through this process. And having Jack and having now the community that we meet every week, we're talking about these things, super inspiring. You know, some of the stuff that I'm seeing coming out of these guys are just like absolutely mind blowing. Makes me want to, jump on my computer and continue to work. But yeah, just, shout out to Nick and Walter and Diego and God sent you're on here and Gary, a bunch of people I've seen before and talked to and everything. But like, yeah, it's nice to be able to have a group of people because I'm pretty isolated in my office, in my environment. I don't have too many people I can talk to about things. So being able to reach out and have a conversation with Jack or somebody else is super beneficial. So I'll leave it at that. Feel free, read through all this. And if you have any questions, I'm around.
Oh, thank you very much, Craig. It's been great working with you, Craig, over the past year and a half now. Wow, it's been a while. But like, I wanted to have Craig just say a few things because it's not just about me telling you, what we should be doing. Firsthand experiences is really going to help and show you that the path moving forward. So we have actually I put on probably way too many like little testimonials and things, but I've been developing this kind of message for a while now, and it really seems to be connecting with a lot of people actually. The edgy people are a bit lost with their Grasshopper. They're just all of these these problems and pains that we're talking about are actually super common. And so there is a way forward, and there is a path to get through that shroud and and start developing your skills a lot more. So I just wanted to quickly go through the membership that we have, or the structure of the membership as we have it. So we have weekly group calls, like you said, and we have design competitions that we're running. I actually, for all the guys who are actually on the membership, I need to run the September one. So I've been a bit busy, so we'll start the September competition this week. But yeah, we have 6 foundational modules that you're going to run through, and these are module 1 is all about number systems, numbers and data is the basis of everything that we do as computational designers. And this is, from this base as well, this is why it's applicable to any piece of design, any industry, because it's all coming from a numerical basis. How we manipulate those numbers is module 2. How do we change scale? How do we change units? How we manipulate those? This is where complex form really, or the roots of complex form comes from, manipulating number systems. And if we're working with manipulating number systems, our computers can do this all day. They are, it keeps our scripts really efficient. We're not using very heavy operations. Our next module is all about list and data. So really, really understanding, the structure of Grasshopper and how all this applies. We have a module on computational thinking. So all of those processes that I talked through, all those, sketching things out, working backwards through scripts, planning out your own logic. These are skills that we need to develop. It's not just about running tutorial after tutorial. It's about practically thinking and developing those muscles. We have modules, and all of this, the first four modules, then, okay, how does this apply to geometry? So let's deeply understand curved geometries, and then surface geometries, which are essentially just curves in two directions. So these are our 6 foundational modules that we'll run through on the membership, along with all those weekly calls. And we have the code and form is our more intermediate level kind of projects that we can run through. I'll talk about those in a second. So yeah, all those modules, they're all hosted on our online platform. Each module is around 2 hours. And again, focusing on, foundations of geometry, Grasshopper, computational thinking. We have design challenges for every single module. So you're going to apply what you're learning in those modules to, your own pieces of design or, all these challenges. Application of knowledge is the most important thing. It's pointless just working through some videos. You need to take that knowledge and try and do something with it. And so all of my design challenges are in beginner, intermediate, advanced, pro. We span a lot of different levels, so you can always circle back around. There's a ton of content and challenges that you can run through, and bring these to the group calls that we'll have every single week, which I thought was the next slide, but never mind. Resource library. We have a ton of resources that I've been developing over the years. If you're just looking for a quick explanation of something, you don't want to troll through a ton of videos, these are a great source and really diagrammatic. I tried to make them like little comic books. We have our weekly live Q&A. So bring in your design challenges, bring in your own projects that you want to work on, or that you are working on to the table. We can work on them together. We can suggest solutions to any problems that you're having, and you can connect with everybody. Again, this is the same slide, but these are all the random projects that we've been discussing these past few weeks. We have our community spaces, so dedicated community spaces where you can contact other members and write posts. And we have all of our event schedules and our competitions up in here. And you can also access it on an app, which is cool, which I'm not sure if anyone uses. And we also have our Miro board, which I think is great. There's a community Miro board where people are putting on projects, and we have a little help desk down here. We have our competitions hosted on here, lots of different resources. So we're constantly kind of adding to this each week with different prompts and different things. So it's quite a lively space. It's a bit messy, but it's just like a, I don't know, community sketchbook. So over time, I'm hoping it's gonna, it's very lively, and it'll only get more interesting with more use. We also, as well as all those modules and everything that we just went through, we also have unlockable bonuses and courses. So you'll get your own Miro dashboard. So templates where you can add all your design challenges to this. All the links are there. It's a great place to just keep track of all your work. We have courses on real-time rendering. So I use D5. So I have loads of content on how to create crazy renders like these. We have a course on, if you've seen any of my Instagram advanced animations, you'll get access to. So yeah, how do you create these little animations to and really this ties in my mind a lot to this computational thinking, breaking things down to their core pieces of geometry, and then making cool animation diagrams with them. And I also have developed a AI image generation mini course, which hasn't been released yet, but this will be up on the platform very soon. And we also have the Code of Library. So these are all bonuses that you get access to. The Code of Form library is I have about 37 projects on there at the moment. And they're quite, I'd say they're more intermediate level, but they're very form-driven projects, and they're architecture projects from around the world. But any of these projects could be a piece of jewelry or a product, or whatever, because they're approaching Grasshopper in a very systematic way, and the way that I will teach you throughout all these modules. So, you know, like I say, form is irrelevant of scale and design industries. So, you know, you can take the ideas and the logics in any of these and apply them to whatever you want. So we have, but like I said, they're more intermediate, but you'll get a month access to all of these on the membership as well. And I also have this as more because it's a community, it's a membership. You can tell me what you want and I'll make it for you. And I'll put it up on the platform if that's what you want. So all of this, everything, you know, I've been developing this content now for, I don't know, a year and a half, couple of years. You know, again, it's 12 plus years of experience, all boiled down into, you know, the key things that you need to learn in Grasshopper to, you know, to get really good, really quick. So our membership at the moment is it's a monthly subscription of $117, six main modules, so it's $702. And this is what we launched in June. So like I said, monthly modules, resources, the community, group calls, on all those unlockable bonuses. I also run one-on-one mentoring. And so our one-on-one mentoring is $3,000. And with this, you'll get access to everything. You know, instant access and lifetime access to all of our stuff. You'll get 12 one-on-one sessions that we'll use, you know, over a year or a month or how, you know, whatever time period that you want, and fully tailored project mentoring, and the full coding and form library as well. So today, what we are releasing is the middle tier, and this is our 1 year membership to the to our community. So we'll get 1 year instant access. You'll get access to all the modules, all the resources, communities, and all those bonuses immediately. You'll get some two one-on-one sessions with me as well that you can use at any point throughout the year. And you'll also, if we're doing a bonus before signing up, if you sign up before the 8th, which is on Sunday, I think, you'll get 2 free script reviews, because this is a thing that I want to start doing as well. So the script reviews are, you know, will be expert guidance on your scripts. So you'll send me your script, there'll be a form to fill out, you'll send me your script, and I'll record a video, which will be sent to you, and I'll run through your script. I'll neaten it up. I'll run through the logic. I'll suggest different resources that you can go through to help, and basically guide you along your, you know, your journey, your Grasshopper, by suggesting how to, you know, what you could improve, and just neaten your script up as well. It's going to save you a huge amount of time and effort than, you know, trawling forums and things, you know, and, you know, you could spend that time on designing instead. It's going to give you more confidence because you know the direction that you're taking. Everything will be logically set out. I'll spend, you know, 30 minutes to an hour working through it, depending on what the script is. So yeah, these are the script reviews that I'm going to start doing with people. So you'll get 2 of these that you get access to. So a lot of my time and experience, which is, yeah, you know, valuable for you because it just saves you a huge amount of time. So we'll end here. This is, yeah, our 1 year membership, $997 for the 1 year access. I added up actually that, you know, if everything individually actually comes to about $3,500. So this is, you know, big discounts, and you'll get immediate access to this community, and all of those bonuses. So yeah, you could read through these points. You can sign up now. We're going to put the link to sign up in the group chat now. And this will just take you directly to the link, so you can join us. And there'll be some more, yeah, and like I said, signing up before the 8th, you'll get those script reviews. So we can open up for questions. I always kind of like having a nice picture though when we're talking. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about, I don't know, anything that we've spoken about at all, the membership, or you know, or any of the other computational thinking, anything that we just went through? No questions? Man, I've done a good job.
About the existing membership.
Okay, there's a question. Sorry, let me just get the here. What about the existing membership? Yeah, if you're on the existing membership, I sent out details. You can top up to this. So we'll just work out, and minus off however many months that you've had on the membership already. And so yeah, you can top up to the 1-year membership and get all the savings and benefits. Is there any student discount? Actually, I don't know. We never considered this. Sorry. We can think about it. Send me a message on Instagram, or you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat now as well. And yeah, if you're student membership, yeah, we can discuss it. But just send me a message and we can talk it through.
Hi, I have a question as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, I wanted to ask about the student membership. Someone has already asked that because I'm a student myself. But is there any plans for like installmental payments?
Well, I mean, our installments, you can join the membership on our the membership package. This, like I said, we're trying to span all different kind of levels of investment for this, because we know people will want to access in this at different levels. So our the membership that we have running now is $117 a month, and you get access to all the same stuff. But it's timed release as well, so you get 1 module a month. So you will need 6 months to get through everything. So yeah, this is how we break it down into if you wanted it to break it down into smaller payments. Any other?
I have a question if I can.
Yeah, please.
I'm sure that you have more to say about this, or will have more to say about this later, and you've already said a lot. But while we've got you, are you able to speak to ChatGPT, AI in general, and its effects on the field as of late?
Ooh, well, I mean, I haven't, as in the effect of like using ChatGPT to drive our Grasshopper scripts and kind of AI in general, or that kind
Yeah,
of
I was just wondering if you found it useful, I guess.
honestly, I haven't really delved into it too much. It will be, like I said, I can create content on it and look into it for sure, because everything needs, in my mind, when we're dealing with more advanced processes like this, we still need this foundation, because yeah, you can ask ChatGPT to write you a Grasshopper script that does something, but it's really going to come down to the interpretation, how well you can describe what you want, how well it interprets it. And then even when it it gives you maybe something that's close, you still need the skills to be able to edit and fine tune. From what I've seen of people like doing these processes, it's super interesting, and there is some there's some really cool work that's being done. But I'd be hesitant to say it could just replace everything quite just yet. Eventually, it probably will in about a decade. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. I guess so. But I'd look into it a little bit more. But having some foundational knowledge is going to really, really help support that learning journey. It's the same with any of the other like advanced plugins as well, because say we're using, I don't know, Kangaroo and physics simulations. It's there's again tons of tutorials. You can get high expectations when we start using those things, but we still need fundamental knowledge and understanding of how Grasshopper works to be able to meaningfully engage with those more complex processes. So that's all I would say, really. Oh, yeah. Are there any plans to add learning resources for specific plugins like Lunchbox, Anemone, and Ladybug? Yeah, that is a great question, because yeah, well, I suppose it spans on exactly from what I was saying. Again, these are we need that foundations before we start getting to these advanced tools. But absolutely, I have tons of advanced modules that I've given in the past. I just haven't put them onto my new platform, or this platform. We've been really focusing on this like foundational level. But yeah, within the next 6 months, I'm going to start on the advanced program as well. So all of these should be available. I'll give more of a timeline of this at some point, but yeah, probably not so much Lunchbox, but definitely Anemone, Ladybug for sure, to do environmental analysis, Kangaroo, physics simulations. We'll do Galapagos for genetic algorithms, genetic optimizations. We could do Karamba for structural engineering. I've done this before. RhinoVolt for vaulted structures. What else did I have? I did some parametric bricks. I had quite a few. So yeah, maybe I'll put them out in the group, and we can order them by priority about what you guys would like first.
Do you have any content related to programming components and plugins?
Programming components and plugins. It was on my plan to do a Python. So same for the advanced modules, to do a Python plugin or a Python advanced module as well at some point. It would be basic. My Python is okay. I can, in reality, I can do everything. I can do everything I need in Grasshopper. The kind of trading bot that I showed you with the that used a lot of Python scripting in its execution, because it was doing API calls as well to actually put trades in. So yeah, there is some experience. Actually, I could do a whole advanced module on Grasshopper and trading if you want. I don't know how many people would want to do that, but could. I didn't make any money from it. So. Will all those advanced modules be included in this program? That is a good question. We're still working it out. I haven't developed them at all yet. So again, everything that we're just talking through at the moment is just, for our computational mindset coaching and the community and everything. The advanced modules, I'm not sure yet. We'll look further at the time. I don't know how much work it's going to take to actually turn them into something that we need and that's valuable for you guys. So let's see. But hopefully. Very interested in market data visualizations in 360 degrees, Gary. Yeah, no, it's really cool. It kind of really helps when you're plotting things out in multiple timescales. So you have, like the smaller timescales here and larger timescales. You see the, I suppose see the flows of data, but seeing it in 3 dimensions is quite helpful. So, Parakeet is the patterns, right? Yeah, we could do one on Parakeet. I mean, again, Parakeet is, I put it in the same world as Lunchbox. It's just a ton of tools that, it's super helpful, but you need a reason why, reason to use them, So there's a few of my, the coding of forms, for instance, they use Parakeet plugins, Parakeet components. So yeah, we could do one on parakeets for sure, but really it's not too, I think if you explored yourself with enough foundational knowledge, you can explore parakeet yourself in an hour or so and figure out what most of the components do. It's just then you need to wait for a project to use it. And for your, to be at a level where you go, okay, maybe I could use parakeet. Shankar, approaching the specific design problem with a clarity computational thinking is really helping a lot. That's great. Shankar is on our membership at the moment. Developing the foundations with a strategic learning is key. Thanks, Jack, for providing this opportunity to learn. You're very welcome, Shankar. It's great having you in the community. Cool. How long? Okay, we're just over an hour, so not too bad. So unless anyone has any other questions, we can jump off. It's the end of my day, so I'm done, but you guys have probably all got work to do. So But look, thank you so much for spending the time. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks for all the questions. All the guys in the membership. We'll continue next week with everything. And yeah. Oh yeah, and we'll send an email out with the recording of this session as well, so you can rewatch anything that you like.